So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Health, Wellness, and Dr. Nugent call. My name's Poppy, and I am your marketing lead here at Mannatech. And today I have the privilege of introducing Dr. Nugent, who will be speaking about NutriVerus today. So, Dr. Nugent is Mannatech's Global Wellness Director and Chairman of the Global Scientific Advisory Board. Dr. Steve Nugent, who has more than 45 years experience in the area of integrative medicine. He has tested more than 6,000 dietary supplement products and has formulated more than 100. He is internationally recognized as an expert in his field and has been teaching doctors for more than 30 years. He is Mannatech's most requested speaker worldwide. He has earned multiple degrees, graduating with top honours at both undergraduate and graduate levels, and his areas of study include integrative medicine, health and wellness psychology, leadership psychology, organisational psychology, nutrition science, and business administration. Dr. Nugent has served as president of the International Association of Complementary Medicine and is a president of the American Naturopathic Medical Association and is a professional member of the American College of Nutrition. He was awarded the Servant's Heart Award by Mannatech Associates in 2007. And Dr. Nugent was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, served his country with honor as a United States Marine, and has been a resident of Texas for nearly 2 decades. And now it's time for me to pass over to Dr. Nugent. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Poppy. Very, very nice introduction. I appreciate that very much.
Still get a bit tongue-tied, but we'll work.
It's a lot to say. It's a mouthful. You did very well. I appreciate that.
Brilliant. I'll hand over to you.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Well, good morning to all of my friends in all of Australasia. I am just so very pleased to be with you this morning. I'm going to share some slides here. Hopefully this works. There we go, I think. And as you begin your, what I hope is a beautiful morning in Australasia for all of you, we're going to be talking about NutriVerus, the new NutriVerus for Australasia. And there's a lot to learn. Things are different, there are lots of changes, lots of good changes for us. And so we are going to get started on this product right now. And just a little note for all of you. I know lots of times folks like to put messages in the chat, and sometimes they think I'm going to see it and respond to it while I'm doing the talk, and I can't do that. So I wish you would put messages in the chat. I hope you do. Poppy and Sinead and all the staff, they all want to interact with you on that. So I invite you to do that. Just understand that I won't be able to respond. I'm not ignoring you. I can't do that while I do the presentation. All righty. So what about NutriVerus? What's good about it? Well, some of you have been with the company for a while. Some of you are new. And for those of you who've been around, you're saying, well, I know the product. What's different? I'm going to give you lots of differences today in the new NutriVerus for Australasia. But let's just real quickly do what everybody wants in the beginning of any talk. And that's it. Answer the question, what's in it for me? What are the benefits? Well, there's lots of benefits for you to stay tuned to throughout this talk this morning. Glycans, which I'll talk a fair amount about for those people who are not aware of what they are, and vitamins and minerals and support for your immune system, your digestive system, even cardiovascular health supported by this. And we have a wonderful array of nutrients. Phytonutrients is what they're called. So phyto is a word that's derived from the ancient Greek word for plant. And so plant nutrients, and these are coming from a pretty wide variety of both fruits and vegetables that we will discuss in some detail as we move on. Now, before I get into the basics about what's going on in the world today, so answering the all-important question for everybody on the call, and that is, do I really need dietary supplements at all? Will dietary supplements make any difference for me? Well, we're going to do that over the course of a few short minutes before we get into breaking down the details on the ingredients and the benefits and the features, as you always expect from me in these presentations. But before we do that, I want you to think about this. People generally will spend money on what they want first, secondarily on what they feel they need. Okay. Well, it seems that dietary supplement sales, nutrition sales, are going up in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. You have the figures on the screen right now to look at. These are the most recent figures that we have. It seems that in Australia, as an example, we're talking about, and all these are in US dollars, as indicated, 2.1 billion with a B, an almost incomprehensible number of dietary supplement sales in Australia. 138, or you could round off and say 139 million in New Zealand. And when you consider the population there, that's a really huge number. And even in Singapore, and there's a smaller population there, $202.8 million US dollars in sales, growing even there in Singapore, growing at a rate of 3.81%, round it off and say 4%, almost 8% in Australia. These are pretty big numbers. With these numbers continuing to go up and the projection of these sales going even higher, is that an indicator for you that somebody is spending money on something they feel they want or that they feel they need? So I want you to think about that from a psychology point of view. Now, some of you who are veterans to these calls, you've heard me talk about the truth about health in the 21st century again. But keep in mind, when I do these calls, my strongest hope is that we have brand new people who've never heard me talk before, who don't know anything about Mannatech products, and this information needs to be reinforced for them. And it doesn't hurt any, by the way, to repeat information for those of you who've heard it, because repetition is the best way to reinforce memory. Well, some of you are aware of my selection of the black vehicles, because everything I own is in black. But I want you to think about your body as an organic machine. It really is an organic machine. And then let's sort of translate this from going way back in time, from the beginning of our ancestors through the most recent time of, let's say, the 20th century forward. Our ancestors were driving their organic machines on a level road. And we know that we get our best fuel economy on a level road. And we also know that if we were going to drive, let's say, 5 kilometers on a level road, or 5 kilometers uphill, although the distance is the same, the vehicle is the same. So in this example, you're the machine. But the stress on the vehicle is much tougher, isn't it? Those of you who've ever done running or hiking, and you know, when you go uphill, it's a lot harder than when you're on a level plane. You know that. Well, that's the way it is in the 21st century. We're not on a level plane anymore. Things have changed. Our world has changed. In some ways, it's been miraculous and wonderful and just amazing, our changes. And in some ways, not so much. But we are going uphill in the 21st century, our bodies, our organic machines. And we've got a lot to face. You know, I wrote a book in 2004, How to Survive on a Toxic Planet. And at that time, my research indicated more than 75,000 synthetic chemicals in Earth's environment that never existed on planet Earth before the year 1930. Then recently I redid the research and was shocked to find out that it's now more than 330,000 synthetic chemicals since 1930. Wow. Now, this is a clear indicator, my friends, that we are not getting cleaner as a planet. We're not. Well, I don't know how it works in Australasia, but I know in the US, lots of corporations spend a lot of money saying that, oh, we're going green, we're saving the planet. Well, the statistics don't appear to support that. I hope that they are, but the data doesn't support it yet. And in fact, these chemicals can be found all over the planet. And especially for all of my dear friends in New Zealand, I love New Zealand. In fact, I say to people in the US who've never had the privilege of traveling to Australasia and visiting your three countries, and I always tell them New Zealand is just incredibly beautiful. What a beautiful, beautiful country it is. But don't be deceived by its beauty, because there is no place on planet Earth where you cannot find these chemicals. No place. North Pole, South Pole, everywhere in between, we are all exposed. We must all make intelligent choices about our health. And in this particular category, I'm talking about antioxidants. We'll come back to that. An article that was published in one of the premier medical journals in the United States, and I would argue the world, it had a study on vitamins and minerals, and they drew blood from test subjects. And their goal was to find out if these test subjects had enough vitamin, just vitamins, all they tested for, nothing else. Did they have enough vitamin in their bloodstream to meet minimum requirements to maintain minimum health? The answer was surprisingly to them, not to me, but to them, the answer was no. And then they made the statement, that's not my statement that you see on the screen. It appears prudent for all adults to take vitamin supplements. All adults. Well, in the US, and I'll give a US example first, and we'll come back to Australasia in a moment. And the reason I give a US example, two reasons. Number one, the statistics are readily available, and that's not always the case in every country. And the other is that the US represents every genetic group on planet Earth. Literally, every genetic group known on planet Earth has some of its members living in the United States. Now, that's pretty astounding. So when I give you a US statistic, in my mind, I'm considering this globally applicable, okay? 76% of Americans approximately take dietary supplements every day. That's a lot. And 90% of Americans are deficient in at least one nutrient. More than 70% are deficient in a variety of nutrients. So even though they're taking supplements, their organic machine is still not getting enough fuel. This is what you need to be aware of. We live in a time in the 21st century where you've got to put extra fuel in your machine. Now here, I'm going to show you this as a chart, and then I'll show you just as numbers, because it's interesting to me, and this is done in marketing all the time. And gosh, I admire clever marketing. I really, really do. But sometimes you can be kind of misled. Now, this chart shows you, looking at the light orange color, if you want to call that, or yellowish or goldish color, whatever you want to call it. It is showing you the recommended intake from each of the governments, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. And then in the darker orange color, you will see the actual intake that is estimated by the citizens of those three countries. Now, it's still not good when you look at what the government says you need as a minimum and what people are doing, but it's actually worse than this bar chart reflects. Let me show you. Now let's look at it in proper context, because that bar chart you looked at, that makes the assumption that everyone has the same recommended nutrients, and this isn't true. Every government has different ideas about what you need. Now, I'm always astounded by this, because as a scientist and as a specialist in integrative medicine and nutrition, I think to myself, all human beings are human. We all have the same biological requirements, but governments don't seem to think that. So you have the numbers in front of you right now on the screen. 7 servings daily recommended for Australians, that's minimum. 5 for New Zealanders. Singapore's government only recommends 4. And then you look at what the actual intake is. Less than 4 for Australia, approximately 4 for New Zealand, and 2.5 to 3 servings a day in Singapore. So how do they meet the guidelines now? Well, now it's looking a little bit different. So what I want you to know is you can feel okay for quite a number of years not getting the right nutrition every day, because it sneaks up on you slowly before you start feeling something that you're unhappy about. When you start that change in performance, perhaps you're experiencing inflammation, perhaps you've even taken a complaint to your personal physician. Well, it sneaks up on slowly. Don't let it do that to you. Do the right thing for your health every day. Be proactive about your health every day. And here's something that doesn't change. I don't care what your genetics are. I don't care what your ethnic origin is. I don't care what your age is or your gender. These are numbers that do not change. Now, we don't have time to go through the whole chart, so I want to call your attention to vitamin C. And you see I've highlighted it for you in yellow. And you see vitamin C, and thiamine is the scientific name for vitamin B1, just so you know that. But let's focus on C. If you freeze your food that contains vitamin C, according to study, you lose about 30% of the vitamin C in that food. So let's say that you bought a food and it's labeled with a certain amount of vitamin C. If you freeze it and then thaw it later, you're going to lose about 30% of the vitamin C. Now, what about freeze drying? Freeze drying is something that people are thinking, well, surely I can take my fruit, I can freeze dry it, and I've made this marvelous snack. And every time I say this, somebody who sells freeze dryers wants to hang me out to dry. Pardon the pun. But folks, freeze drying, you're going to lose about 80% of your vitamin C content by doing it. And what you'll have is a highly concentrated sweet, really. It'll taste great, you'll love it, and you'll love the fiber in it, but you're not getting very much vitamin C. Now, what if you've taken it out of the freezer, but now you're going to cook it? Well, just cooking, you'll lose 50% on average. And I think that you get my message here. What you think is in the food to begin with, and what may in fact really be in the food to begin with, once you start doing things that humans do with food and food preparation or food storage, you're going to lose nutrition. So if you think in your mind, well, I'm planning my nutrition so I don't need supplements, I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat some pineapple and some oranges, and I'm going to have my kale and my cauliflower, and you're going to do all those things, but you're going to lose nutrition every time you go through any form of food preparation. Okay, enough of that. The idea is we need to supplement in the 21st century. And I'm not the only one who believes that. There are 67 nations of our world. Last time I checked, I think there was 192 countries, but 67 nations have made it law, national law, that prepared foods have to be supplemented. Now, of course, they're supplemented with synthetic nutrients naturally. In fact, Australia was one of the very first countries to do this, not the first, but one of the first. And they saw a problem with health in Australia from alcohol consumption. They knew that alcohol caused the body to lose certain vitamins, especially B vitamins. And you need your Bs, folks. You need them to be healthy. And they then told the industries, the food industries, who are making bread and cakes and pastries and all this kind of thing, you've got to add B vitamins to your product. And I'm not sure the verbiage they use in Australasia. In the US, they refer to it as fortified. I like that. All right, so now that we've just sort of set the stage for everything, let's talk about the new NutriVerus, a glycan supplementary food powder. That's a different way of looking at than before, because this new NutriVerus is not a TGA listed medicine or food supplement. It's food. It's a food with very dense nutrition. So let's talk about it as a food, because that's the way you, as Mannatech associates, need to talk about this product. Let's take a look at the ingredients. Well, we had a supplier, and a lot of people are confused about this. We've got people who I think they believe that there's one supplier for every country, and that's not physically possible for every kind of nutrition ingredient or every kind of product. In fact, because of different rules in different countries, we have to meet certain rules, and whether the rules are good or bad or right or wrong, that's not my job to figure that out. I'm just a science guy. I know what the body requires, and that's my job to help you get what you require under the various regulations in the various countries. Well, our manufacturer for Australasia, because they're following different rules than we follow in the US. So for those of you who would say, well, the US NutriVerus didn't change, why did ours change? Well, that's the primary reason. Because our vendor for Australasia, that's approved by the TGA, that vendor stopped using rice bran. They no longer buy it. So, we had to make a decision. What do we do? We want to make sure everybody still has NutriVerus, that everyone still has this option. So we're going to have to use science. That's my job to figure this out. But we're going to have to use science to make sure that when we replace one ingredient, that we give you something that is at least as good, if not better. When you learn about oat fiber and oat bran today, I think you're going to be impressed. And by the way, just as a little side note here, the scoop size is changing because the density of the material has changed. The density of the material of rice bran and oat bran are different, so the scoop size is different. That's the only change that's occurred. All right, so why oat fiber? The answer is science. What do? Well, we took a look at the science, and there are numerous studies on oat bran and oat fiber, and all of these studies we found were amazing and hugely beneficial in our world today. Some of you may have heard that a lot of people have trouble with fat loss, which is the correct way to say it. Governments usually force us to say the words weight loss, but that, as a scientist, makes me crazy. It's fat loss. You don't want to lose weight, you want to lose fat, okay? Because muscle has weight, bones have weight, okay? You want to lose fat, okay? But whatever our governments tell us we have to say is what we have to say. That's what we have to put on our labels. It's what we have to put on our marketing materials. So there is the real science, and then there is the requirements by each of the governments. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not, but we have to obey the rules. I hope everyone understands that. So on these studies that we have here, what we're looking at is studies that show very definite, very distinct improvements in what's called insulin sensitivity. Now, some of you may have heard things like metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance, that sort of thing. What you want is the opposite of that. And the opposite of that then would be insulin sensitivity. Now, if you can increase your insulin sensitivity, this will help your body in a number of different ways, health-wise. But in one way it'll definitely help is it can help you with fat loss. Now, this is not a dietary supplement. It's a food. I remind all of you, as I've just showed you on a slide a few moments ago. But the oat fiber, oat bran, they can help you with improving your insulin sensitivity. This is going to be better for your blood sugar, for healthy blood sugar. It's going to be better for you if you're on a fat loss program. And I know what the rules are, but just everybody forgive me. I'm going to say fat loss, okay? Because I'm a science guy. And hopefully everybody will be okay with that. All right. So what do we know then? Well, insulin sensitivity, we're talking about blood sugar control. We're talking about a lower need for glucose management. We're talking about improvements, potential improvements for metabolic syndrome. And that's about fat loss. And very importantly, an improvement in the way your body utilizes glucose from your blood as energy rather than storing it as fat. Some people call that fat burning, okay? Now, you don't actually burn fat. Oof, that sounds uncomfortable, doesn't it? But you understand what I'm saying. Utilizing stored fat from wherever it is on your body where you don't want it and turn it into energy. That's what your body's supposed to do. And it also helps with hormonal balance. I'm talking about insulin sensitivity, improving insulin sensitivity. I'm not talking specifically about NutriVerus. I'm trying to do a science talk here, okay? So you can potentially improve hormonal balance and potentially reduce inflammation if your insulin sensitivity is improving. So why oat fiber? Well, hopefully you're getting it. I hope that you're catching this. There's a lot of reasons here. Also, the oat fiber, it has both soluble and insoluble fiber. Now, in the soluble fiber, there are beta glucans. That's hugely important for your immune health and is known to support healthy cholesterol metabolism. And on the insoluble side, this is important for gut health because it works as a prebiotic. A prebiotic is something that feeds a probiotic, and a probiotic is what you need to have a healthy gut and those probiotics to multiply faster. It also contains B vitamins, thiamine, and pantothenic acid, pyridoxine, so B1, B5, B6. These are all important for energy and a long list of other things, not just energy. And then there's something called avenotheramides. And you'd say, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that. These are polyphenols that are unique to oats. And they have tremendous antioxidant properties. And let's take a look at the other benefits. Antioxidant activity, of course. And in today's world, antioxidants are extremely important as our environment becomes more toxic, increasing free radical activity, and that threatens your health. There are anti-inflammatory benefits. There are circulatory benefits because these polyphenols actually help to dilate your vessels, and blood flow flows easier now, faster and easier. Also, skin calming properties. And I addressed this to my friends in Singapore. Of the 48 countries that I've lectured in my career, I have never seen more skin problems in any country more than Singapore. Now, of course, skin problems happen all over the world, okay? But skin calming properties, very, very important for that. And of course, reducing muscle damage post-exercise. So there's a real benefit here that you had no idea that you were getting out of the oat fiber. And don't worry, I know you think, well, oat fiber, that's a grain, so it has gluten, right? No, oats are naturally gluten-free. And by the way, thank you to Poppy. What a pretty picture that is of oat fiber. I like that. Now let's talk about another food in this very nutritionally dense food called NutriVerus. And that is what the Australian TGA refers to as dried yeast. That's the way it must be labeled in your countries. In America, we call it nutritional yeast because it's a source of, I don't know, nutrition, all right? It's a healthy food source of vitamins and minerals. Well, let's take a look at some of these vitamins and minerals. There's real crossover here between some of the nutrients found in the oats and some found in the yeast, and some other crossover in various vitamins and minerals from our fruit and vegetable powders that I'm also going to talk about in a moment. So look at these B vitamins that you have from nutritional yeast, or in Australasia, we have to call it dried yeast. Now, for those of you who are not aware or you're concerned, there are hundreds of forms of yeast. We do not use the form of yeast that people fear and people are worried about. You know, I like to joke all around the world about this when people have a concern and they say, is it harmful or dangerous? You know, it's just bad business to kill your customers. And Mannatech knows that. So we make sure that we don't use anything that is potentially harmful. I know it sounds like common sense, but it doesn't stop people from worrying and then coming to me and saying, oh, Dr. Nugent, I'm worried about this or that. Is it dangerous? Why in the world would we do anything like that? Everything we do is going to be based on the best science, and it's going to be as pure and as functional and as efficient as it can possibly be. That's what we do at Mannatech. And as the chief science officer of this company, that's my promise to you. So vitamin B1, energy, oh yeah, lots of that's great for energy. And some people will use a product with B1 in it and they'll say, you know, I feel better. And they mean they feel better psychologically. I call vitamin B1 the happiness vitamin. I think it's one of the reasons that Catalyst is so darn popular, is because of all the B1 in there and the B12, and they both tend to, well, just make you feel better about yourself, feel better about the day, a little bit happier. Certainly, for a lot of people, this is an issue that it wouldn't hurt to supplement that to some degree. And then, of course, you know, the B2, the B3, all of these that I won't detail each one. Folate, which is the natural form of B9, also known as folic acid in scientific terms. And this is all these B vitamins contributing to energy. Some of them contribute to the production of enzymes. Some of them are important for brain health. Some of them are important for heart health. So many things that B vitamins are important for. But also in the dried yeast is chromium, hugely important for blood sugar, iodine for energy, manganese, selenium, and zinc. And there's a crossover here too with some of these minerals from the oats and from our fruit and vegetable powders as well. I won't detail each one, make you crazy with it. So the additional ingredients then, besides those two main food powders, are vitamin C from acerola cherry, and we have vitamin C in this from other sources as well. In fact, some of the other fruits in this, of course, are providing vitamin C as well. But the main source is going to be acerola cherry. And then, of course, vitamin A from carrot powder, vitamin D2, which is the plant form of vitamin D, and of course, vitamin E. So in the fruit powder, in our mixed fruit powder, we have acerola cherry, of course, black currants. Wow, boy, that black currant, that's something really good to talk about. Who knows, maybe one day we'll talk about fruits individually and cite them out. I don't know. Lemon, pineapple. So you've got vitamin C, obviously, through these, but there are other nutrients from these as well. The main purpose of these powders, however, is not the vitamins or the minerals. The main purpose are what are known as phytonutrients. Remember the plant nutrients. So in science, you have vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, and you have various cofactors, but you have phytonutrients as a completely separate category. Most phytonutrients, like avenotheramides that we talked about earlier, most of the plant nutrients are antioxidant, various forms of antioxidant. Some of them are also anti-inflammatory in nature. Some of them provide other benefits as well. Some of them have studies that indicate that it helps you fight the aging process. I wish somebody could find a way to reverse it, but we haven't figured that one out yet. But we're working on it, and science in general is working on it. I don't know if people realize this, but human beings have a genetic potential to live to be about 140 years of age. So why don't we all live to be 140 years of age? Well, there are a lot of reasons, and that's kind of another talk. In fact, I have a whole talk on the nutrition of aging and the reason to supplement your entire life and so on. Perhaps we'll do that on another call. But there are a number of reasons why we are not meeting our full life expectancy. As an example, some of our organs are actually designed to live longer than the rest of our body, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Your liver is designed to live 144 years. Well, that is if you haven't saturated with alcohol or other things you shouldn't do. But our body has huge potential. And we do see more and more people living beyond the 100 mark, but not enough and not healthy enough when they get there. I would love to see everybody make it to 140 years and to be healthy, not in a wheelchair on oxygen, but to be healthy. I would love to see that. Well, one thing's for sure. If you don't take the right steps to give your body the fuel that your organic machine requires, there is no possibility that you're going to make it to your full potential. It's just not going to happen because your body is a machine. It does require fuel, and nutrition is the fuel. So do keep that in mind. Let's move on to the vegetable powders. Well, beetroot. Well, I could talk for days about all the wonders of beets and the things. I'm not sure how it works in Australasia. I know in the United States, we have our most popular holiday in the US, believe it or not, is not Christmas or one of the other holidays, although that is a popular holiday in the US. Our most popular holiday in the US is something called Thanksgiving, and is traditional. It's been traditional in the US since the 1930s for everybody to have a turkey and all the trimmings and side dishes that go along with it. And the whole family gets together with it. And it is also tradition to serve beets with the turkey, and you can't get almost anybody to eat their beets. Well, let me tell you what, beets are hugely, hugely nutritious for you. There are, for instance, beets are important for supporting heart health. Did you know that? Well, there's so many things that, so when you sit down to eat with your family and your grandmother says, eat your beets, by gosh, eat your beets. Do what she says. So broccoli sprouts, you need your sprouts, folks. Sprouts are different than having the whole vegetable. It's a different thing. So broccoli sprouts and broccoli, that's my favorite vegetable. Gosh, I love broccoli. I sometimes eat too much broccoli. I really love broccoli. Carrots and kale and spinach and tomatoes, as we say in America, or tomatoes, probably you say in Australasia. But as the song goes, tomato, tomato, right? It doesn't matter. We know what we're talking about. Now, technically speaking, tomatoes are always listed as a vegetable. They're not. They're actually a fruit, but it's the way it's always listed with people, because people tend to put their tomatoes in salads and so on and so forth. Now, if you haven't had an honest to goodness organic tomato lately, boy, give yourself a treat. Tomatoes are amazing. They are a fruit, and they are amazing. Especially organic tomatoes. Wow, amazing. So more additional ingredients. We're talking about calcium, about 25%. And the calcium comes from whey. And now I'm always going to have somebody who will say, oh no, whey comes from milk, and that means it's lactose, and that means I'm going to feel bad. No, everybody get a grip. Get a grip. There is a threshold of lactose, which is the sugar that makes milk taste a little bit sweet. Lactose sugar, you have to have a certain threshold of it before your body can't handle it. And when your body can't digest it, that's when you feel the digestive discomfort that we call lactose intolerance. Now, this product has nowhere near, in fact, it's a tiny fraction of the threshold necessary for you to trigger a lactose intolerance event. Literally a tiny fraction. So yes, it does contain whey and the yogurt flavor. Remember, this product, this whole product is food. It's naturally sourced. So we took our yogurt flavor from milk, because that's what yogurt's made from. And so you do have a little bit of lactose, but not to worry. There is so little lactose in this, it would be quite astounding if anyone actually had a lactose sensitivity reaction. They're very astounding. In addition to that, there's copper in the form of gluconate. Now, I personally prefer either glycinates or gluconates when we're talking about minerals. And the reason for this is that your digestive tract likes glycinates the best, it likes gluconates second best, but it really likes that particular form of minerals because minerals are tough to digest. And as a sweetener, we're using an enzymatically modified form of stevia. Most of the people in the world call it stevia. Well, my first name is Steve. It's spelled S-T-E-V-E, Steve. And if it was stevia, it would be S-T-E-V-E-I-A, which it isn't. It's correctly pronounced stevia. Most people don't care. It bugs me. Okay, so I just I just thought I'd have to say that. Let's talk about glycans. Mannatech is the glycan company. There's no company on planet Earth that has done more research, that offers more important products in the area of glycans. Now, if you're going to take all of these plants, remember this is not a food supplement, it's a food. So if you were going to take all of these plants, the acacia gum, the arabinogalactan, which by the way is also a prebiotic, the gum tragacanth, the aloe vera concentrate powder, the aloe vera gel extract powder, and the undaria, when you break those down into their glycan components, and then you list those glycan components, you're looking at the same list of glycans that you find in our product called ambrotose. How about that? And you need your glycans every day. Wait until manifest. Wait until you hear our new story, marketing story based on the newest science on glycans. It's exciting, super exciting. Coming to you soon. Little tease for you. And what are then, if we take the benefits and we start to just condense them for us, we're looking at a product that not only promotes good health, but can promote healthy aging. That's important. As we look at a population that is continuing to age, and hopefully that always continues, but our younger numbers are not quite proportionally catching up. So we're looking at an awful lot of people who are over the age of 40, and they're looking for assistance of one type or another for their health. Digestive health, this product, NutriVerus, can help. And you can see all the reasons why. Energy production. I've spent a fair amount of time on that, but you can see the copper, the iodine, the manganese, the biotin, all these things are part of energy production. And cell protection. Well, the antioxidants are right on top of that list. So all the phytochemical antioxidants, as well as the ones you see listed on the screen. So what about cognitive function? All of us can use the best cognitive function. Don't you want the best cognitive function? I do. I need it. Okay, we all should have it. So iodine and zinc and B6, and by the way, B1 as well, and really even B12, healthy skin, the zinc, iodine, biotin, niacin, riboflavin, that's vitamin B2, vitamin A, and vitamin C. And of course, your immune system, quite a long list of nutrients there. And even cardiac function, which is supported by thiamine. It's also supported by some of the phytonutrients in this. So as our summary, we're looking at both soluble and insoluble fiber that both have their own set of benefits. And then the glycan complex, of course, that you see there, all the vitamins we've talked about and the minerals, and 11 different fruits and vegetables. Wow, that's huge in the powder. And so that's not a huge change from the previous NutriVerus product, but again, we're framing this as a food, not a food supplement. And so we're looking at normal support for normal cognitive function, brain function, healthy skin, healthy immune function, healthy heart. And then, of course, it's unique. You expect unique products from Mannatech, don't you? This is a unique science-based nutrition formula. Science-based, so important to me personally, that everything we do is science-based, naturally sourced, and nutrient dense. And this is all food-based ingredients. It's vegetarian friendly. And some of you will say, well, it's not vegan friendly. Well, couldn't manage that on this one, but it's vegetarian friendly. And this supplements your servings of daily fruits and vegetables. I still want you to eat your fruits and vegetables. Get on that stick, get it done, folks, because that's important. It's gluten-free, it's free of MSG, and it's really, really easy to use. Well, you can take this powder, you can sprinkle it on anything, you can put it in any beverage that you choose. It's up to you. Consume it any way you choose. It's easy to do, easy for everybody. And then you might say, well, who should use it? Do you eat food? If you eat food, you should use it. I mean, that's everybody, folks. That's really the easiest way to look at it. So again, this is the packaging for your new product in Australasia, NutriVerus Glycan Supplementary Food Powder with vitamins and minerals. Remember, this is a food, not a dietary supplement. Keep that in mind as we move along. And then, of course, I always throw on the references at the end. Well, I'm going to stop the sharing, and I'm going to open this up for Poppy to come back, or Sinead, whomever's okay. Poppy, there you are.
Hi there. Oh, thank you so much. That was an amazing call on NutriVerus. So much information. And I'm so shocked at the statistics at the beginning with your nutritional values that we need. And it just goes to show that we need to be so proactive with our health and use supplements like NutriVerus. But that was absolutely amazing. I'm sure that everyone will agree on this call.